looking at the Masters of the Universe Classics reissue of Mossman, and he's got the unflocked ears. They did two versions of this figure, one with the ears flocked and one with the ears unflocked. They only re-released the unflocked eared one. Taking a look at the back of his card, you can see other figures from the series, from the line, and his write-up with his real name and backstory. In the Classics line is a reuse of the Beastman, much like the original Mossman was a reuse of the original Beastman. And let's just take a look, bring Beastman in here to compare. As you see, it's most apparent in the head sculpt. Mossman has all the flocking over his the bits that are hairy on Beastman, so it covers up that reuse pretty well. As you can see here, they've kept the long fangs of the mold. Now, the original figure had the fangs, but they painted the mouth. They painted the teeth in the mouth to be flat. So if you look closely at the sculpt, you could still see the fangs of Beastman. So I think that it was interesting that they did not do it on the figure for the Classics. Mossman, I believe, is one of the last figures to include a 2002 alternate head, and we'll bring in that head. And it's a more simian and passive looking sculpt to the face. Let's put his hat on, and you just so you can see the 2002 look has a much more peaceful expression. On mine, the flocking here went all the way up through the mouth, and as you can still, you probably see that there's still some on his lower mouth, but I had to cut away a lot of the flocking there because his whole mouth was covered. So I don't know if they were all like that or if that was just mine. Otherwise, I'm very happy with the figure, and I'm not really sure which head I like the best. I'm kind of leaning towards this one, the 2002. It kind of distinguishes him from Beastman. Like I said, the body is the same body as the Beastman one. He's got a little bit longer loincloth piece, though. I don't know how they did that. They must have used some other figures. The rest of the sculpt is great. Paint-wise, he's pretty good. He's got some green and even some like brown on the shoulders and by the joints here. Gives him that earthy feel. These fingertips are sort of a really dark green, almost black. Details from the paint come out in the faces and the weapons and accessories of the character. So for instance, here you got the teeth and his eyes. With this face is the eyes. Really really like the light green eyes. Very inhuman, ethereal almost. I thought they might be glow in the dark, but they aren't. It would have been neat if they did it, because you could have had that whole sort of ethereal, creepy, glowing eyes, like he was looking at you from the dark of the jungle, dark of the forest, and all you would see were these eyes. Accessories, he's got the wooden club weapon, which is based on the original figure's club weapon. But this is a much more, I want to say, detailed. It actually looks like it's some wood lines and notches and stuff that they really give it that wooden look. And it is a little bit hard getting the weapon into his hand, but once it's there, no problem. His other weapon or accessory is this little attachment that can go over his head and arm. Like in the 2002 version, he has a pouch of his like super growth formula, I think it is, and he's got a knife with a sheath, and the knife is pretty cool. It's got a very flint knife feel to it, stone knife, and it fits into the scabbard pretty nicely. And you can see the paint details make this shoulder strap look like he's used a vine. So it's a pretty cool accessory. Both of them are. So down to the gimmick. Well, of course, the Classics figure has the same gimmick as the original figure, and that is, of course, well, it actually has two gimmicks. It has the flocking, which you can obviously see, and then it has the pine scent. Yes, this figure is scented to smell like a pine forest, and let me tell you, this is as potent as the first one was, and I think that my room will smell pine fresh for several weeks thanks to this guy. So not only is he an action figure, but he's a room freshener as well. Now I'm sure his scent will go down in the weeks to come, but right now it is pretty powerful. I noticed it right out of packaging, even actually through the packaging and through the mailer box I could smell him. That's how strong a scent he has. And I think it's a bit sweeter smelling, if that makes sense, than the original one was. So about the flocking is pretty nice. They do limit the flocking around the joints here. As you can see that they have eliminated, or they don't have as much by the joints, so as to A, not get in the way of the articulation, and B, not have all the flocking material come off due to the friction. I'll just tell you now that I don't know if you can see it or not, but just by manipulating there, you can kind of see it, how much of the flocking has come off. onto my little backdrop here. If you move this guy and touch this guy, the flocking material will come off, and probably eventually it will all fall. It will all come off, or it won't be as rough a feel to it as it is now. The other thing with flocking is that, if I recall, I had two Mossmen, two original figures of Mossman, and they both suffer from this problem. Is that the flocking collects dust and lint, and so you get, these guys had dust bunnies, and it looked like the inside of a dryer. They had all these little fuzzy Klingons all over their body. Hopefully that doesn't happen too soon with this guy, because I'm not going to, unlike the original figures, I'm not going to be playing with them down on the carpet. It'll be interesting to see if they do collect dust and lint like the first figures did. As for articulation, like I said, none of it is hindered by the flocking gimmick, and he's got all these standard joints that the Masters of the Universe Classics does. Arms go all the way around, out, rotate at the bicep, bend at the elbow, and rotate at the wrist. You've got ab articulation and waist articulation. The legs go forward, back, out, and in, rotate at the thigh, bend at the knee, and bend at the ankles. And this guy even has some ankle pivot. It is quite loose. And that is the one thing about the figure that I wish they fixed, or maybe because of the reuse of the Beastman mold, they're like that, but that's my only concern with the figure, aside from the collection of dust on the flocking. I passed on him the first time around because with the flocking, it's going to be a mess down the road. But when he was reoffered, I reconsidered, and I'm glad I did, because he's a pretty cool figure. So that'll do it for the Masters of the Universe Classics Mossman. And stay tuned for my next video. And until then, I'll see you.